এক মিনিট কাসেমদা, এক মিনিট। সানিয়া মির্জা এই মুহূর্তে রিপাবলিক প্লেনারি সামিটে এসে পৌঁছেছেন। আমি দ্রুত এক ঝলক দেখি, আবার ফিরবো আলোচনায়। দুজনের বলা বাকি এই মুহূর্তে। সানিয়া মির্জা।
Right? Wow, what a question.
থেকে রিপাবলিক প্লেনারি সামিটে একাধিক তারকার আমরা দেখেছি, তারকারা এসে পৌঁছেছেন, রাজনৈতিক ব্যক্তিত্বরা, মন্ত্রীরা এসে পৌঁছেছেন এবং এই মুহূর্তে সানিয়া মির্জা রয়েছেন মঞ্চে। এবং রিপাবলিক প্লেনারি সামিট এই দেশের সবচেয়ে বড় প্লেনারি সামিট, সেখানে প্রধানমন্ত্রী আসছেন রাত 8টার সময়। তার আগে সানিয়া মির্জা এই মুহূর্তে মঞ্চে এসে পৌঁছেছেন।
In Melbourne. It started in Melbourne in 2005 when I played Serena Williams in the third round here as an 18-year-old, and that was scarily enough 18 years ago, and I've had the privilege to come back here again and again and win some tournaments here and play some great finals.
তিনি ক্রীড়া জগতে যেভাবে নাম করেছেন সেই কথা বলা হচ্ছে। সোহেল সেটা সম্ভবত রয়েছেন মঞ্চে এবং সানিয়া মির্জা এসে উপস্থিত হয়েছেন রিপাবলিক প্লেনারি সামিটে। একটু পরেই বক্তব্যও রাখবেন সানিয়া মির্জা। আলোচনায় ফেরার আগে এক ঝলক রিপাবলিক প্লেনারি সামিটের ছবি সরাসরি।
Thank you for being here. Very brave of you and courageous to stay on till the very end. This is a very special section and a session because I have with me, as all of you know, Sania Mirza, who unarguably is one of India's most delightfully talented individuals, who epitomizes limitless in a manner that you and I can't fathom. I'm delighted she chose tennis as her career because she could easily have been a politician or in a cinema industry. So let's start with the beginning. And I don't want to make it mushy, we'll make it fun, no controversies. So I'm not going to ask you any questions that would evoke or stoke controversy. How did this all begin? And what was the one thing that drove you consistently? Because there are many naysayers in our country. You know, I lived in Bengal most of my life. In Bengal, we had a problem for every solution. So that's the mindset we were brought up with. So how did you manage all the obstacles that came your way? And many must have.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for that lovely introduction. You really switched roles really fast because you were really funny about 5 minutes ago, and then you went into this whole compere mode right now. It's amazing.
No, that's because I asked her, why didn't she choose tennis as a career? Then when I read the sheet, I discovered she was a tennis player.
No, to answer your question, 32 years ago is when my parents said, we want our child to play a sport. And, you know, I mean, I'm okay to say my age because it's on Google, so I'm 38 now. And when I was 6, my parents said, you know, boy or girl, it doesn't matter, we'll make them play a sport, which in itself was very weird in those times, because especially when you had girls, sport wasn't really something you chose. And when you had boys, they played cricket. So we had a lot of cricketers in our family. And similarly, if I was probably a boy, I would have probably played cricket at that point. But thankfully, that wasn't the case. I was a girl. My parents said, oh, you know what? I used to skate, I used to swim, I used to play tennis. And I happened to be a lot better at tennis than anything else that I ever did. Whether it was, I mean, I was good at studies, but I was much better at tennis. I was good at swimming, but I was much better at tennis. And it was always like that, no matter what I did. And a couple of months into me playing, my mom had to actually fight the coach and say, please take her. And he said, she's too small. She's only 6. And she said, but she's my daughter. I want her to play a sport. And my mom's the feisty go-getter. My dad's the more calmer person in the family. And my mom said, I don't care. I want her to play. And after about 2 months, the coach called and said, I've never seen a 6-year-old hit a ball like this. So that was the beginning of the journey of how I happened to choose this path in my life.
So interesting. Now, you talk about the fact that there were encouraging parents, and there were parents who actually went out of the way not to stress academia. Because the problem in India that I've always said is we lay too much of importance on education and very little on knowledge, which is why we have such bright people everywhere around us. And obviously, I'm being sarcastic. But having said that, you know, it's interesting you mention your age. Because I've seen 40 Wimbledon finals. And I'm going to be 62 on May 28. You can all send me wishes. Arnab Goswami is turning 27 tomorrow. So you can send him a wish in advance. But it's interesting, Sania, because I've always believed, unlike cricket, and I have a lot of respect for our cricketers, for their fitness, for their game, and I believe tennis is such an individual, tough sport because you're there alone. How did that ever impact you? Who were your role models, for instance, at that time?
Well, I mean, you know, when you look up Sania Mirza on Google, and I get this question a lot of, you were the first one to do this, and you were the first one to do that, and you're the first one to, you know, whatever it may have been. To answer your question, I didn't have any role models back home at that point, because the only other female athlete close to home that I could really look up to, and I think a lot of, you know, I see younger people here probably grew up looking up to, was PT Usha, because she was the only other female athletic superstar that we had. But because of lack of social media and electronic media, we didn't really actually know what she looked like. We just heard of PT Usha, you know. So for me, I had to find those role models outside. So for me, Steffi Graf was my role model. For example, growing up, I wanted to be like her. I wanted to hit a forehand like her. I wanted to act like her. And yeah, and then one of the biggest compliments in my life that I got was
নানা ধরনের কন্টেন্ট দেখার জন্য লাইক করুন, শেয়ার করুন আমাদের ফেসবুক পেজ, সাবস্ক্রাইব করুন আমাদের ইউটিউব চ্যানেল। পাশাপাশি অন্যান্য ব্রেকিং নিউজের জন্য অবশ্যই চোখ রাখুন রিপাবলিক বাংলায়।